Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the District Court.
Thank you. And we'll have roll call.
Yes, sir. Bill Johnson.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
McKay is absent. Green is absent. Jewell.
Here.
Blick. Nix. Foster.
Here.
Warren.
Here.
Joe Johnson.
Here.
Miles.
Here.
Hartman.
Here.
Cunningham.
Here.
Williams Bay.
Here.
Sir, I showed 12 present.
Now the approval of the prior MAPC meeting notes. I show that Ms. Miles, McKay, and Blick were not here, and Joe Johnson left early.
Move for approval.
Second.
Who was that from?
Joe.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sir, I believe Mr. Joe Johnson was absent for a portion of the meeting, so he.
Okay, take it back.
I move for approval.
Hartman.
Move for approval. Staff comments.
Second.
Staff
Got a motion by Mr. Hartman, second by Mr. Warren. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? That carries 12-0. Now we'll go through the agenda and see what items we can take on consent.
Excuse me, I had to abstain from that, so I'm not sure that carries 12-0.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You're way ahead of me.
It
Sorry.
carried 903.
903. I've been up here all day, so I'm tired. Okay, we're going to go through the agenda and see what we can take on consent. The first item is subdivision item 2.1, subdivision 2022 00031. Is there anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Is there any of the commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? How about anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. The next one's 2.2, subdivision 2022-00032. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? Is there anybody in the commission chambers here that would like to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual like to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take on consent. Next one's 2.3, subdivision 2022-00031. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Any commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent.
Chairman, I'd move for approval of items 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3.
Second. Moved by Ms. Fox, second by Mr. Dewell. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? And Ms. Fox, I appreciate you staying chairman.
Inside joke.
Some people understand that. Next area is, we're gonna see if we can take these on consent. 3.1 is a vacation case, 2022-00020. Any of the commissioners want to hear this case? How about the virtual commission members? Any of you want to hear it?
Nope.
Anybody in the commission chamber want to hear it? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case?
Nope.
Take that on consent. The next one's 3.2, vacation 2022-00021. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? How about any members in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? Okay, we can take that.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
Move to
I move-
approve agenda
I
item.
move for approval of 3.1.
I believe you had two commissioners who are moving for approval of item 3.1.
Okay. Now we're
I'll
on
second it then.
3.2. We take that on.
We gotta
consent.
vote on.
I need to make a motion for 3.1, and then we need to make another motion on 3.2, because I got to abstain from 3.2.
Right, so let's vote on 3.1.
Motion by Joe Johnson on 3.1. Have a second?
I'll second it. Over here.
Mr. Hartman seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Move for 3.2 approval.
Second.
Got a motion approved by Joe, and was that second by Ms. Miles?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? And I will abstain from that, so that'll be 11-1 vote, 11-0-1. Okay, we're gonna go into public hearings. Item 4.1, conditional 2022-00023. Is there anybody on the commission want to hear this case? Is there any of the commissioners in the virtual want to hear this case? Is there anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case? We'll take that on consent.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a staff comment on that one.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Maybe we can take that after you're done figuring out which items will go on consent or not.
Okay. 4.2, additional 2022-00024. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? Want to hear this case? Is there anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case?
Mr. Chairman, this is Colin Wyndham. I would like to hear that case.
Okay. Next item is 4.3, conditional use 2022-00025. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? Do you want to hear the case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent. See, now the CUP 2022-00030. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to, oh, you want to hear it? Okay, we're going to hear that.
Which one was that, 4.4?
Okay, 4.5, zoning case 2022-00030. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Is there anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case? We'll take that on consent. 4.6, zoning 2022-00031. Is any one of the commissioners want to hear that case? How about commissioners that are virtual want to hear this case? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Does anybody virtual want to hear this case? Take that on consent. Zoning case, or next one's 4.7, zoning case 2022-00032. Anybody on the commission want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual want to hear it? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Anybody virtual want to hear this case?
Chairman, I need to abstain from 4.7.
Okay. Okay, 4.8, we need to hear because there's a difference of opinion on one of the items. 4.9, zoning case 2022-00034.
We're going to hear 33.
We will hear it.
Now we're on zoning case 2022-00034. Any of the commissioners want to hear this case? How about the commissioners that are virtual? Anybody in the commission chambers want to hear this case? Is there anybody virtual want to hear this case? Hearing none, we'll take that on consent.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve agenda items 4.1, 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, and 4.9.
I have to abstain from 4.7.
Okay. Let me redo that. Agenda items 4.1, that we'll have a staff comment. Okay, we'll hold off on that one. 4.3, 4.5, 4.6.
Second.
Got a motion to approve by Mr. Warren, second by Ms. Fox. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, now item 4.7, do I have a?
Got a motion to approve 4.7 and 4.9.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blick, second by Ms. Miles.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Abstaining.
He will abstain from 7. Okay, the comment on 4.1.
Yes, this is Philip Zievenbergen with planning staff for the record. This item is a conditional use for allowing additional commercial vehicles for a home occupation for a towing company. We just wanted to note that vehicle storage yard and wrecking and salvage are not permitted by the zoning code. As it is, there was a comment made to staff via phone call of concern that this property might be stowing vehicles that they're towing on their site. The site does have a number of vehicles, but the applicant states that they are his own. And so we just wanted to make it clear that vehicle storage yard, which would be for operable vehicles, or wrecking and salvage are not permitted by the zoning code. So they are not allowed to store vehicles they are towing on their site. Anyway, the comment would have been, if it was up to the commission, we could have added a condition to the conditional use to make sure that those uses were prohibited, but they're already prohibited by the zoning. It's just whether or not we actually stated in the condition of approval of the conditional use, even though they're already prohibited by the zoning. So we just wanted to make that clear kind of for the record, that storing vehicles on site, whether they're operable or inoperable related to their towing company, is prohibited by the zoning.
Any questions, staff, on that?
I have a question. So are we going to need to hear this case then? Would you believe that? Because you say that there's vehicles being stored on there, but then might be a conflict with the applicant on this. Do we need to hear the applicant?
In conversation with the applicant, he said that they are his. And so any storage of vehicle on the site that are his, their presence there or their legal status of being there is not related to the conditional use.
Okay.
We just wanted to make it clear based on a comment we had received that with their towing business, they're not allowed to store any towed vehicles on their site. Any vehicles on their site have to be their own, which the applicant claims they are. And that is a separate issue from this conditional use.
And Philip, there's no limit to the number of personally owned vehicles that you can store on your own property in rural residential. Is that accurate?
Not in the zoning code. So,
Any other discussion on this?
To approve agenda item 4.1.
Got a motion approved by Mr. Warren.
I'll second it.
Mr. Hartman seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, I think the next one's 4.4. Correct? Mr. Dool wanted to hear that one, correct?
Yes.
4.2.
Huh?
4.2, sir. There was a Mr. Collin who wanted to hear that case.
There was somebody online who wanted to hear 4.2.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Dool, you're gonna have to wait.
I wanted 4.4.
Right. I had no notes on that one. Go ahead, Philip.
Item 4.2 is a conditional use request for an accessory apartment in the basement of an existing home. The property is zoned single-family residential, and it is located at 325 South Belmont Street. The home was originally built in 1922. The accessory apartment will be part of the existing structure. It is not in a detached structure. There are code differences based on the Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department regarding separation of what constitutes an accessory apartment within an existing building versus being a detached building. The Unified Zoning Code defines an accessory apartment as a dwelling that can be wholly within or detached from the principal single-family dwelling, and supplemental use regulations in Section 3D6A list 4 requirements for accessory apartments. 1, that they are accessory to the dwelling unit. 2, that the appearance is compatible with the main dwelling and the character of the neighborhood. The accessory structure or accessory apartment will remain under the same ownership and not be sold or divided into condominium, and that the water and sewer service provided are not separated from the main dwelling either. Because this is within the existing structure, there's no issue regarding the architectural compatibility because it is within the main structure. Properties surrounding this location on the north and west are single-family residential with single-family homes. Properties to the east and south are two-family residential and developed with duplexes. All municipal services are nearby and serve the existing site. The comprehensive plan identifies the site as appropriate for residential uses, and the Wichita Places for People plan support a variety of housing options within the ECA. And this place is considered an area of stability within that plan as well. Staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions in your staff report. And we can go through the slides here. You can see the zoning, it's single family, and the yellow is the two family nearby the site. Next picture. This is the area of the site. They do have accessory structures in the rear of the property, but the accessory unit is in the main structure. Next picture. Land use is residential. Next picture. It says site plan showing the house in relation to the garage. We are working with the applicant they have provided a revised site plan that we will move forward with this one for approval. Next picture. It's the existing home with a brick structure. Next picture. And see the shared driveway between the structures, between this house and the neighbor's house, and this house is a detached garage in the back. Next picture. This is looking at homes north of the subject property. Next picture. Looking at homes across the street. Next picture. Again, homes across the street. Next picture. Looking south along Belmont. Next picture. And again, south along Belmont on the west side. Next picture. And I can stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff?
I just compliment you on your organization of photos on the back. It's really nice.
Actually, believe it or not, this is Mary Hunt's case. I apologize that I took her thunder, but just kind of walked up here. One of our other staff members is out, and I was like, oh, I'm just presenting everything today. So compliment to Mary on her organization of
Thank you.
pictures.
Any questions of staff? Thank you, Philip. Applicant or agent?
This is Travis Zwanger. I had the applicant on it, and I spent a couple hours on my on my site plan. I wish it would have been added other than that rogue one I sent before, but it was much more detailed. I'd sent to Marion, and it was last week, and maybe she didn't have time to submit it with you guys or not, but it just gave a more detailed layout of the property and or the apartment below, which has been like that since I bought the property in 2015. I just wanted to legally make sure it was all done properly for zoning. So that's just the request for it. It was more to make sure it was legally zoned correctly versus what had been done in the past. That's all.
And your name and address?
Travis Zwanger, and I'm the owner at 325 South Belmont.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Hearing none, thank you. Is there anybody in the commission chambers want to speak on this item? Is there someone virtual that wants to speak on this item?
This is Colin Wyndham. I am the owner at 327 South Belmont, the property next door. I originally asked for this to be heard because I wanted to make sure I understood the scope of the project. Thank you for taking the time. I have no concerns. I'm sorry to take your time. Thank you.
Not a problem. Is there anybody else virtual want to speak on this item? If not, I'm going to bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve with staff's recommendations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Blick, second by Mr. John William Bay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, the next one's 4.4, CUP 2022-00030.
Good afternoon again. Philip Zievenbergen on behalf of Christina Reith, who is unable to be with us this afternoon. CUP 2022-30. The applicant is requesting a minor CUP amendment to DP 12, which is the Kellogg Mall Community Unit Plan for Town East Mall. The applicant is requesting to expand the number of uses such as tavern and drinking establishment, entertainment establishment, and event center, all of which could be considered nightclub in the city because they could provide alcohol and a form of entertainment. This is for 2 restaurants on parcels 13 and 14 of the mall, which you can see in the black outline is on the very north side of the mall complex, directly abutting East Douglas. The addresses of those are 7607 and 7703 East Douglas. If the property was not within a community unit plan, the request for these within 200 feet of residential zoning would have required a conditional use, so the community unit plan amendment is in lieu of the conditional use. In addition to, the community unit plan did not list these as permitted uses on these parcels. The current listed uses for parcel 13 is just restaurant, and parcel 14 is regional shopping center, offices, restaurants, theater, and others per the limited commercial zoning code. Limited commercial zoning district. Because this would be considered a conditional use, that does not allow these uses within parcel 14 because those listed under limited commercial are assumed to be those by right. The applicant is proposing language for you for the sake of not having 3 different things going around. Staff provided a recommendation that was contrary to what was submitted in the application. Once the applicant reviewed staff recommended language, at your desk you have a supplementary sheet provided by the applicant with their response to staff recommended language. So again, for the sake of avoiding confusion, I won't talk about what was in your staff report because we recommended something different, and then we can just discuss between the two of what staff recommended versus what the applicant was wanting to adjust in staff's recommendation. So the staff recommended language was to provide hours of operation for the outdoor areas, which includes the yard games that they specified as a 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and then 12 a.m. or midnight Friday and Saturday. And then also have the those same hours of operation for indoor entertainment, as at the time of the writing of the staff report, it was staff's understanding that they were not going to be providing any outdoor entertainment on the site. The text from the applicant, and I will also let them go into more detail, I'll just kind of explain it generally, is they're looking to take out indoor entertainment as an ancillary use, and they're looking to adjust the hours of operation for the outdoor areas as well as indoor or outdoor entertainment to 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, at midnight on Friday and Saturday. So really just an hour difference on the Sunday through Thursday time frame. But again, the major feature being allowing indoor and outdoor entertainment. So that could be live music, dancing, things like that that are considered entertainment by the city code. So they're looking to have possibility of having indoor entertainment or outdoor entertainment, as opposed to what staff recommendation is indoor entertainment only, and then they can use the outdoor spaces for yard games and things like that. Again, I'll let the applicant go into more detail about what their response to staff recommendation was. The properties surrounding this, as you can see on the map in front of you, is everything in the red, which is limited commercial, is within the community unit plan for the mall. And then you have the single-family residential uses to the north. If we go to the aerial image, Paul, there you go. You can see along Douglas, there's a row of trees which are actually required by the community unit plan as a landscape buffer to be maintained as just a rule of complying with the community unit plan. So those trees always have to remain in some form or fashion or be replaced if they go. But they do have a presence there, and they are required to be maintained. This restaurant here is Doma. It's a relatively new restaurant to occupy this space. They have, as you'll see in the pictures, a paved patio area kind of on the east and south side of the building. At least with that particular parcel, that is an intention for using the outdoor space for kind of yard game type things, as well as potential for entertainment purposes as well. The comprehensive plan identifies the area as new employment. The locational guidelines of the community unit plan encourage infill development that maximize public investment with existing or planned infrastructure services. The land use compatibility say that major commercial development should be buffered from residential development. The CUP requires a landscape buffer along Douglas, as I mentioned, which acts as a buffer in addition to the street right-of-way itself, and those residences have a screening wall on the south side of their property that the developer decided to place on their properties, knowing they're going to be built right next to the mall. So there are barriers between these restaurants and the backyards of the residences across the street. We find that this is in conformance with the Wichita Places for People plan. Strategy number 3 says improve the economic feasibility for commercial services and for the markets necessary to support them. And number 6 encourages development and redevelopment in an environment that is contextual to its surroundings. So staff is recommending approval overall. You do have the staff recommended language in the staff report, or you can consider the revisions to that recommendation by the applicant. The amendment still shall only apply to parcels 13 and 14. Our conditions obviously might change depending on what your guys' will be regarding what the applicant is requesting regarding the time limits for condition number 2. We state that outdoor entertainment as defined by the city code is prohibited. They're asking for outdoor entertainment to be allowed. And then the last 2 conditions are standard language for CUP amendments. We have not heard any public opposition. I touched base with Christina about this case prior to the meeting, and she has not had a phone call or an email from area residents. It will be going to DAB in August, so we don't have any information from the District Advisory Board to share with you today. With that, I'll go through the rest of the slides with you. We go to the next slide, showing the land use as new employment. Next picture. This is the CUP drawing, and you can see parcels 13 is Doma and parcel 14 is the one next to it. Next picture. This is on parcel 13. This is the newly opened Doma restaurant. You can see they've made significant improvements to the building from what was there. Next picture. This is the west side of the Doma restaurant. Next picture. This is that enclosed patio area of Doma on the east side of the restaurant. Next picture. This is looking south at the back side of Doma. So even with the enclosed space, they have a fence enclosing that patio area from the outside. So it's not just open to the north facing the residences. Next picture. This is looking at the other restaurant on parcel 14. Next picture. Another side of the building. Next picture. You can go to the next picture. And the next picture, please. This is looking to the north. You can see there's a wall right here along Douglas. You can see the existing vegetation along the street right-of-way. Next picture. And again, from parcel 13, you see the existing trees that are there, East Douglas right-of-way, and you can see the wall that's lining the backyards of the residential properties to the north. Next picture. This is looking east along the mall property. Next picture. South towards the mall. Next picture. And to the west, the expansive unused parking spaces to the west on the mall property. And with that, I can stand for any questions you might have for staff.
Any questions, Mr. Bill?
I was a little confused about who the applicant was and what it covered. The report shows 2 LLCs as the applicants, and there's 2 buildings there. One of them is currently an open business, the other one is closed. So is this one of these applicants on one business and the other applicant owns the other, and they just combine their application here? I'm a little unclear on that.
My understanding is that the parcels are independently owned and the applicants came together to submit one amendment to apply to both parcels.
Any other questions?
No.
Applicant or agent? Give us your name, your address, you got 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, Joey Denicky, MKC Engineering, 411 North Webb Road. Agent on behalf of the applicant and owner. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the existing site, DOMA, and the unoccupied building. They're actually both owned by one person. They just have two LLCs on the two different parcels. So I think I'll just get into the our request for the staff report there. Philip touched on it, but just to kind of break it down, item 1 there, that was kind of a little bit of an oversight because the entertainment establishment is the ancillary use, so it was kind of redundant to put it back in that item 1 as well, so that's why we just crossed it out there. And then hours of operation, we understand that there's some concerns about the hours, so you know, we're mostly in agreement with those hours, although we would request that the hours be 11 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. On the Sunday through Thursday. We looked at some existing entertainment establishments and restaurants, and those are similar to 11 p.m. as well, so we would just request instead of 10, it would be at 11 p.m. And of course, the midnight would be for Friday and Saturday. And then Philip mentioned the outdoor entertainment. After further review, we would like this provision in the CUP to allow for that use. The owner just recently paved the patio area, put a great deal of improvements, and I'll kind of show you some pictures here just to kind of give you a feel what it is. But the idea is they have a closed-in patio area with some doors and some curtains that you can open up. And so in special events, they would like that option so they can open up those curtains to allow for more seating to that outdoor area. So with that, they would like to have that outdoor entertainment. Primarily the music and dancing, that will be kind of inside, but they just want to allow for that opportunity. If they have a bigger event, they can open things up to the outside as well. So with that, those are mainly the two requests that we have, and I'll just kind of touch on some of these pictures here. And if you haven't been to the site, here's just kind of a couple indoor photos. It's a nice place. I will say that, you know, a lot of residents, they come to this establishment, and I think it's a great improvement for this area. It's very compatible with the mall there and existing establishments. Next photo, please. So here, this is kind of that closed-in patio area where the doors can be opened up, the curtains can be opened up into the outside area. So just to give you an idea, the music is primarily going to be in this area here, but they want to, you know, a nicer day, they want to be able to open those curtains up for the outside area. So next photo. So this is kind of the outside patio area. So like I said, it's been paved here with concrete here recently, but it kind of gives you an idea. You can kind of see where they would open it up, where those curtains are. So, you know, additional seating can be kind of on the outside there. Next photo. So this is kind of, Philip mentioned this, but this is looking kind of into the patio there. You can see the fully concreted area, just showing that, you know, it's properly screened from the outside area. And then also I will just mention kind of on the north side, you can see it's a solid screening fence there just to kind of add some protection there. So with that, I'd kind of answer any questions, but again, just to recap, you know, we would request the hours of operation to be 11 p.m. from Sunday through Thursday and 12 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, and then also to allow for the outdoor entertainment in addition to the indoor.
Mr. Hartman?
How far would you say it is approximately from the building across the
north to the residential area?
Well, Philip had that in his staff report. I believe from the building to existing house is about 280 feet. And then, and Philip would have to correct me on this, but property to property line, I think it was.
Property line to property line is about 100. From the north property line of the restaurants to the south property lines of the houses, but building to building is closer to 250 feet.
Any other questions?
I got it.
I mean,
The photos that you showed, especially where the screens would open up, basically where the party could move out into the patio area. Do you anticipate the music coming from inside and just kind of spilling over, or do you look at this as being where an outdoor venue where the band or music would be set up to the outside?
It's my understanding that the music's going to be kind of in that closed-in patio area, and it would kind of spill out to the outside area. But they just want to be able to have seating outside as well, so those individuals can listen to the music as well.
So then my staff question is, if the band or the music is set up inside, opening a door is like opening a window. If people sit outside, how does that fit the definitions that we have for?
J.R. Cox, zoning administrator, is telling me that it would still just be considered entertainment. In a sense, if you're opening it out to the outside, there's not necessarily, it kind of grays the line of indoor and outdoor entertainment.
It's also my understanding if there's any kind of dancing taking place outside, that's considered the outdoor
Yes.
entertainment.
I dance here. I want to see that.
That may not be allowed by the zoning code.
any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Oh,
So the band will not be outside, it will be inside.
That's my understanding. Primarily, it's going to be kind of inside that closed-in patio where the doors are at. Yep.
So that would comply with the conditions that the staff has added to this, correct?
Ms. Miles, kind of like JR was saying what we stated before, if doors are open, it becomes kind of an indoor-outdoor space. It kind of grays the line of indoor entertainment and outdoor entertainment because it's being just provided on site. Again, if, people started getting up and dancing outside, then it's entertainment. So it's probably best if the board is looking at being okay with the doors and stuff being open to permitting outdoor entertainment as well, just to not gray those lines and not have any confusion for enforcement. Keeping in mind when it comes...
I agree, because I think even if you open the doors, you can't control how loud that music or how much that music, once those doors are open, are going to infect the people that are right behind them in their residences.
Correct. And just as a reminder, the city does have a noise ordinance. So number one, there'd be an hours of operation that the entertainment would have to shut down. But in addition, during the hours of entertainment, if it's allowed, the city does have a noise ordinance that the entertainment, the music would have to comply to.
Philip, do you know what that is? The ordinance says?
It's a certain decibel level, and it's based on times of day. So like 8 to 10 p.m. is a certain decibel level, and then from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m. the decibel level drops. I don't remember what the decibel level is. I think it's like 60 or 80 during the day and drops down to like 60 overnight or something. I don't remember. I don't have it off the top of my head. I think Scott's looking it up as we speak.
any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here in the commission chambers want to speak on this item? Is there anybody virtual want to hear speak on this item? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve with the additional staff comments from 11 p.m. from Sunday to Thursday, 12 a.m. from Friday to Saturday, and then allow the entertainment in the patio.
Got a motion by Mr. Blick, second by Mr. Nix. Any discussion?
Can I clarify, are we voting on the text in the staff recommendation or the text in the applicant's revision to the staff recommendation?
It's
Applicant's revision.
yes, it's applicant's revision on the very last page of 5.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Do we need to do a roll call?
So I believe
Ms.
those
Miles.
who were opposed, were not in favor of it was Ms. Miles.
Just Ms. Miles?
That's
Okay.
correct.
11-1 then. Next item, 4.8. Zoning case 2022-00033.
This zone change request is in unincorporated Sedgwick County. The property is on the southwest corner of West 21st Street North and North 151st Street West. It is currently zoned rural residential. The applicant is requesting 2 zoning classifications, as you can see on your screen. The majority of the property in question, they're requesting to zone to 2-family residential for duplex development, and then the hard corner at the intersection of 21st and 151st, they're requesting for limited commercial zoning at the corner. To help familiarize yourself with this area, this is St. Teresa Hospital. If you go closer to the next mile road to the east, 135th Street, that's where the Northwest Y is located. These blue lines here indicate the city limits of Wichita, and so this property is about a half mile west of the city limits of Wichita. And it is my understanding that if the zoning is approved, that they will be asking the city for an island annexation, which is ultimately approved by Sedgwick County based on a resolution of the city, if the city's on board with it. So that's just some background of this. Paul, if you want to go to their exhibit, that kind of delineates, there you go, thank you. This property has not been platted, and so what you see on the screen is not a final layout, but just a conceptual layout of what they're intending it to be. You can see there's a couple points of access, one on the north here on 21st Street and on 151st Street. A lot of the details of access and length of streets, drainage, width of pavement, any improvements onto 151st Street or 21st Street, all of that is going to be handled at the time of platting. This is just a discussion about possible land use. So there would be a significant consideration of infrastructure improvements in order to allow a development of this size, but again, will be handled at the time of platting. Just as a note, city water and sewer are available nearby. City water's in 151st Street. City sewer serves the hospital to the north, and the city public works does have it in the relative near-term capital improvement program for infrastructure expansion west on 21st Street that this applicant could take advantage of if they didn't want to petition for those improvements as part of their project. So we have contacted Public Works for that information as background, but again, all handled during the time of platting. The limited commercial portion of the site will be 9.11 acres. The remaining 92 acres would be slated for a 2-family residential development. In TF3 zoning, they can develop single-family residential if they would like to. At your tables, you do have a one-pager from the applicant showing you the intended style of the 2-family residential. I'll let them talk about that a little bit more, but they wanted me to pass that along for you guys. Regarding island annexation, the process of how that works is the city would have to adopt a resolution basically saying that they are on board with the annexation and are okay with it and have the plans to provide services. As I mentioned before, it would then ultimately be approved by the Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners would be reviewing it to ensure they're not disturbing any harmonious development of some other type of community. This is in the Wichita growth area. And then the property to the west, kind of bounding to the line, is the potential future northwest bypass right-of-way. The community unit plan, or I'm sorry, the limited commercial zoning does have a stipulation in our protective overlay. In the Unified Zoning Code requires that any limited commercial or general commercially zoned property above or 6 acres or greater establish a community unit plan for, harmonious development within the commercial shopping area or whatever it turns out to be. They did not submit one with this application. You can still approve a limited commercial zoning. However, one of our items in the protective overlay states that a community unit plan does have to be established prior to any issuance of building permits. That's kind of redundant. It's required by the zoning code, but we just want to make sure that that's in there as well. Regarding commercial development next to residential development, even though it's currently under the same ownership, the community unit plan would require a minimum of a 6-foot screening wall in addition to, if it's annexed within the city limits of Wichita, in addition to landscaping. Again, one of our stipulations in our zoning code is that if work on the commercial property, if the community unit plan is adopted prior to annexation, that they write it to adhere to the city limit or to the city landscape ordinance as well. With it being in the county right now, technically would not have to adhere to that, knowing they're anticipating annexation. If that community unit plan looks to be established prior to annexation, that they follow the city landscape rules, knowing they intend to be annexed into the city at some point in the future. This at a minimum would be landscape street yard and parking lot screening along 21st and 151st Street, and a landscape buffer along the west and the south boundary lines where it's abutting the TF3 or proposed TF3 zoning. Properties to the northwest and south are zoned rural residential. The land is predominantly used for agricultural uses. Adjacent to the south is a small enclave of 14 single-family dwellings on non-conforming lots, approximately 1/2 acre in size. Rural residential requires a 2-acre minimum. So these lots were established before the zoning was applied to them. Property abutting to the west along 21st Street has been acquired by KDOT for a future northwest bypass, as we mentioned before. It would have an interchange at this location, and there's already been conversations with KDOT regarding where their access control along that on and off ramp would be in relation to where a point of access for this development could be along 21st Street near the entrance into the highway should it be built. Property to the northeast and the east are zone SF20, single-family residential in the county, and they're used for agricultural uses as well. With 1/4 mile northeast of the site is PUD 27, and it's the St. Teresa Hospital. And the city limits of Wichita, as we said before, is about a 1/2 mile to the east, and those properties are zoned single-family residential with single-family homes. Again, the property is unplatted. That's required prior to building permits. We discussed a significant amount of what would be required for public infrastructure improvements. Again, those would be handled at the time of platting regarding any expansion of the roadways for turn lanes or accel lanes or decel lanes or things like that. Again, all will be handled at the time of platting. Staff find that the requested zone change is in conformance with the community investments plan. It is identified to be in the 2035 Wichita growth area. It is designated for new residential or residential employment mix. The portion of the property intended for limited commercial zoning is in that new residential employment mix, which generally states that commercial development will be a little lesser intensity, more slated for a limited commercial type setting. And if there's any residential built mixed with it or nearby it, that'd be a little bit higher intensity. The rest of the property is zoned residential, which affords the full variety of residential density, which includes 2-family residential as well. Overall, staff is recommending approval subject to protective overlay. The very first one is withholding the publication of the ordinance until the annexation within the city limits occur. This kind of basically protects development of a suburban scale from happening when it's not within the city limits. Given it being within the Wichita growth area and the presence of the Wichita City Services, it's not anticipated that the city wouldn't consider annexing it, but that's just one kind of protection to say if the city chooses not to annex it, we're not having suburban style scale out in unincorporated Sedgwick County. Anything within this protective overlay can be modified by the board this morning if you feel it's inappropriate. The second point, as I mentioned before, is that the limited commercial property will require the establishment of a community unit plan before building permits are allowed on that portion of the property. And then the caveat to that being if that CUP is established prior to annexation, that it contain language consistent with the landscape requirements of the Wichita Landscape Ordinance. And then overall amendments and adjustments and interpretations of the overlay can be in accordance with the zoning code. So if there's any major deviations, there'd be a public hearing for an amendment, and then there's stipulations that would allow adjustments if necessary that are done at a staff level. Findings for our recommendation: the property is zoned rural residential and supports single-family residential development with a minimum lot size of 2 acres. Potentially it's up to 5 acres depending on the type of on-site sewer that they have. Extent to which the removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby properties. This zone change will increase development intensity in the area and add a large number of new residents and remove agricultural land from production. Suburban scale residential and commercial development of this scale is approximately 1/2 mile to the east. So it's not necessarily too far outside of the city at this point. It's just a matter of, is it appropriate to make that leap and allow this level of development instead of letting it grow more organically as the city limits grow. The nearest development of this intensity west of 151st Street is 2.5 miles south with a Pike addition at West Maple and 167th. So this level of intensity within the city limits of Wichita is west of 151st Street, but is down at Maple Street as well. So when you think of the city limits of Wichita, they kind of taper up to the north as you go farther north, and they go farther west as you get closer to Kellogg. The impact to proposed community facilities would require significant improvements to infrastructure for sewer and water, in addition to possible improvements to the road rights of way to accommodate additional traffic. Staff has not heard any public comments up until the writing of the staff report or today's public hearing. We do have the applicant and agent in the chambers with us. I can go through the rest of the slides real quick. This is we're on the west side of 151st Street looking south, so you can see the agricultural land that's in between the city limits of Wichita and this property. Next picture. This is looking at the site itself. It is currently agricultural. These trees here are the north side of this kind of 14 lot enclave of homes. Next picture. This is looking on the west side of the property. There's an existing farmstead there that's under the ownership of the applicant. Next picture. Or I believe they are in contract to purchase it, if I'm correct. This is, again, looking at existing development on the site. Next picture. This is on 101st Street looking west at some of the homes that are currently existing south of the property. Next picture. This is north of 21st Street looking at the agricultural land to the north. Next picture. This is looking kind of to the northwest, looking at St. Teresa Hospital. Next picture. And this is looking right at the intersection of 21st and 151st Street, the northeast corner of it. Again, agricultural land. Next picture. And I can stand for any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question. Oh, go ahead. She's first.
I am fine with the zoning aspect of this, but I just want to clarify, we are just voting on the zone change today. The images that were given to us of the proposed duplexes appear to be about 90% blank garage door, and we have had other cases where we discussed duplexes that were a little more user-friendly and neighborhood-friendly. Will we get a chance to have some input on this aspect of this development when we do or see the CUP, or I guess the platting wouldn't really apply, but I guess I just want clarification that we're just talking zoning change today. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are just talking about the zone change today. When it comes to the aesthetics of the duplex, that will not be a consideration of the community unit plan unless they include the entire property within the community unit plan. The community unit plan is only required for the commercial property and not for the entire site. Those properties that we have suggested some architectural guidelines to it have been within the established central area within the city of Wichita and not outside of that. This is well outside the established central area, and we historically have not provided architectural suggestions for duplex development in this area.
Question I have is, on the screen that we're looking at right now where it says TF3, how close is the 254 Northwest Expressway interchange is going to be to that proposed?
That's a good question. Where you see this kind of Y out from the corridor here, that's for the on and off ramp of the interchange will be constructed somewhere in there, probably obviously not right on the line of the development, but the reason that right-of-way line expands like that is to make room for the on and off ramp.
Okay.
And so when you think of the actual freeway deck itself will be, where you see kind of the more smaller channel going off the screen there, you can imagine that kind of being in the middle of the site here, and then this will be near the on and off ramp.
Gotcha. So that would be more of the off ramp, it looks like, where
The
the top
off
of
ramp
the ramp.
from northbound to
Yes.
eastbound 21st Street,
Yeah,
yes.
correct. Okay, that's what I was wondering. So it looks like proposed, it's going to be probably the off street is probably going to at least be a couple 100 feet away from a property line anyways.
Likely, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions, staff?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Is that a dry creek running diagonally through there? I just noticed it goes to the red line on the west and then just stops.
Yeah, I am not, when I was out there taking pictures, I did not see any standing water in any type of canal, so it might be like you said, a dry creek that may have water in it during rain events. Again, regarding drainage or floodplain or things like that, those issues will be handled at the time of platting. Even in the exhibit that they provided, when I get there on my, they do have kind of the center of the site bounding that creek, understanding there's likely some floodplain on the site that they have to manage. And so even their concept doesn't necessarily go over that creek. They kind of leave that creek alone.
Okay.
Any other questions, staff? Hearing none, applicant or agent, please. Give us your name and address. You got 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Chris Spohm from Garver, 1995 Midfield Road, agent for the applicant. Happy to be here today. I'm happy to be here because this is a exciting expansion of the city of Wichita at the end of the day. This spot is very well suited for ultimately becoming part of Wichita and being zoned as we request because of the new Northwest Expressway. That right-of-way that Philip mentioned is purchased. I know that facility isn't imminent, but it is on the KDOT's master plan for consideration. This reinforces that with growth beginning to actually develop along that corridor. Similarly, the comment was made that the city of Wichita is about a half a mile to the east, its current city boundaries. There's a pretty substantial floodplain between that line and 151st, so this is kind of a natural, kind of the next open piece of ground contiguous to that could be developed. To reinforce that whole idea, St. Teresa, there is a sizable sanitary sewer main that comes down through the St. Teresa property and terminates near their south property line. That is the sewer main that will come up. The master plan for City of Wichita for sewer is to serve this basin with that sewer. So we've already checked with Public Works on that. Again, the comment was made that water was available at the intersection as it stands right now. A couple of other things. The photo you saw is just representative of one of the many different home products that the developer would anticipate putting into that community. The TF3 allows for two-family and single-family. The market kind of dictate where that goes. We're perfectly fine with the staff conditions. It makes perfect sense to have a PO for a conditional or a CUP for the commercial site. Again, with the horizon of the Northwest Expressway, it just makes sense to wait and see how that will form over time to make sure that's developed in concert with it. With that, I'd stand for any questions that you have.
Any questions, agent? I guess not.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here in the chamber who'd like to speak on this item? Please come forward. Give us your name and address, and you got 3 minutes.
My name is Shirley Martin Grimm, and I own the quarter section that runs along 151st and goes on to 21st. 21st is I'm between 135th and 21st Street. I've got a quarter section there, but one part of it is 151st. And if they zone this, changing it to the TF3, how is that going to affect the zone traffic? How's it going to affect the traffic, the water, the infrastructure, and who pays for that? Because my land is all agricultural.
Give us your address, please.
The address that I live at is 12 North Hopper Court, Goddard, Kansas. This address that I have here is 14505 West 21st Street North. And I'm the farm that's on the south side, and St. Teresa's and the Y are on the north. So these are the questions that I have. How's it going to affect my property value? Not to mention, who's going to pay for all that they're putting in, the different infrastructure that's going to be affected. And
I guess what I want to say, this is basically zoning. When the platting's done, the utilities will be established then. I'll let staff.
Sure, I can offer, this is Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. I can offer a couple comments on that. In terms of how traffic will impact, well, that will depend also on the platting process, how many lots, how many units there are. Also, the different street improvements that are done in the area will help determine which routes of travel people will use. So traffic will be a little bit complicated to predict, but it depends on the infrastructure and the amount of units. And also the type of development and timing of development. In terms of who pays for the infrastructure, it depends on how it's done. Some infrastructure is paid for new developments through special assessments, which means that the property owners who receive the benefits then would be charged towards it. Generally, we see that with streets and local roadways that are done within a subdivision. But it can depend if it's a arterial street, then sometimes those are paid for by the city at large. So it depends on the type of infrastructure and the location of it.
I'm aware that they have applied for 260 new services through the REC Electric for the T3 that they're wanting to put through. So they obviously are wanting to put a bunch of little houses there. And that's not very big houses. And it's not going to require much ground for this type of house. But they've got 101 acres that they are contingent on selling on getting this through. They were offered $24,000 an acre for these 101 acres, contingent on changing the zoning there. And there's a number of people that live in the housing that's just south of them on 151st that are not happy with this either. However, we're kind of at your mercy what happens.
Anything else?
But thank you.
Any questions for the speaker? Is there anybody else in the chamber who want to speak on this item? Is there anybody virtual want to speak on this item? Anybody virtual? Hearing none, the applicant's got 2 minutes of rebuttal.
I really don't have anything else to say other than it would utilize special assessment financing for the improvement, so there wouldn't be intent for any public utilities that would be cost to any of the adjacent property owners. They're actually thinking of advancing the sanitary sewer main without the benefit of the City of Wichita main extension fee, because there's not a budget for it, so that's a cost they would bear on their own to get this project moving forward. Then again, I'll just reiterate the point. This is a natural progression for Wichita. It will abut the future Northwest Expressway. It's just a good fit as the city grows, and ultimately, with the development of the Northwest Bypass, that whole ring will fill in over time. I'd stand for any other questions, and thank you. Yes, sir.
At this point in time, you have not decided whether it's going to be duplexes or single family, is that correct?
The developers will trust the market to move forward with the development.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bring it back to the commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve with staff's recommendations.
Got a motion approved by Mr. Blick,
Second?
second by Mr. Warren. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carries 12-0. That ends our public hearing. Now we're going to go into non-public hearings items.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mary Hunt with the Planning Department. Today we have the first of what will be 2 presentations on the Capital Improvements Program. This month, we will hear from Sedgwick County Public Works Department as they present infrastructure investment recommendations for the upcoming 5-year period, years 2023 to 2027. On July 2nd, just 2 weeks ago, the Advanced Plans Committee heard this presentation and recommended it be brought forward to you today. The job of the Planning Commission is, for this particular item, is to determine if the Capital Improvements Program is in conformance with the Comprehensive Plan. The Comprehensive Plan outlines priorities that support the economy, our quality of life, caring for what we currently have, making value-added investments, and balance our growth with a focus on our established neighborhoods. And the priorities within that are, the first priority is projects that maintain and replace what we have. The second priority is to make enhancements to what we have. And then last, our third priority is to expand infrastructure and facility assets. So as in previous years, this CIP is divided into 2 sections. The first part covers facilities, and that'll be presented by Facilities Director Andrew Diltz, followed by Road and Bridge Projects, and that's presented by Assistant Director of Public Works Lynn Packer. Staff has reviewed this, and we recommend the Planning Commission make a finding that the Sedgwick County CIP conforms with the comprehensive plan as is required by Kansas law. Any questions from anyone on what I've said?
Seeing none.
All right, we'll ask Mr. Diltz to come up and begin the presentation. All right.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Lynn Packer with Sedgwick County Public Works. I'm actually going to start things off. And today with me today in place of Andrew Diltz is Paul Kavanaugh. He is our new Facilities Project Services Manager, and he will be presenting on their projects, our facilities and drainage projects. Next slide. Just as a refresher for what we're doing, As Mary noted, on July 7th, we presented advanced plans. Today, we're presenting to you. Last week, the manager, as you probably are aware, county manager presented our budget to BOCC, the Board of County Commissioners, and that opened up the public comment period. There will be a first public hearing on August 3rd, followed by a second public hearing on August 24th, and then hopefully right after that will be on August 24th will be the budget adoption. So why am I in front of you here today? Basically, we're just going to communicate our info on our capital improvement program and hopefully justify a finding that the community investment plan goals have been met. We want to receive a determination from you that this all conforms to the local comprehensive plan. Next slide. I believe Mary covered this, but the current comprehensive plan is the 2015-2035 plan. It was adopted on January 20th, 2016 by the Board of County Commissioners. That is the precipice of why we are here today, to get that finding from you so we can move forward on August 24th with adoption of the overall budget, which includes the CIP. Right now, I'm going to hand this over to Paul. He's going to talk to you about the facilities and drainage projects, and then I'll come up and finish up with talk about our roads and bridges.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Kavanaugh. I am the Project Services Manager for Sedgwick County. I know I don't look it, but I'm the new kid on the block, so a little patience, please, and we'll move through the projects as easily as we can. A couple of weeks ago, we gave this presentation to the advanced planning group, and they didn't want to let the rest of you miss this opportunity. So we're going to jump into the slides, if we would, on the facilities and drainage. Capital improvement projects, these are broken down into 3 categories, actually 4 categories, from the most urgent categories all the way down, and you'll see that each category is kind of pushed back in years as we move down through the process. So category 1 is the highest priority, and it is consistent with existing long-term preventive maintenance schedule. Next slide. And you can go down the list, and I'll be very brief about it. D25 is the flood control system, major maintenance and repair. That is the split 50-50 between the county and Wichita, the city of Wichita. And these numbers are for the county's portion. And they are just major maintenance and repairs. D21 is for drainage improvement southwest of Hayesville. It's work in tandem with the Hayesville project that reduces flooding issues in the Country Lakes edition of Hayesville and also southern Sedgwick County. Roofs and parking lots are the next 2. That's simply a revolving capital improvement project as they are needed. The next item, outdoor warning device replacement and new installations, are for warning sirens, and half is being funded this year. The DNA lab addition is to house a new DNA lab for evidence screening and forensic analysis. We intend to repurpose the existing lab to accommodate the needed growth of toxicology and firearm labs. The Lake Afton Pavilion, the juvenile detention facility camera systems, health department facility upgrades, and replacement restroom replacement are simply upgrades of well-used facilities and systems to provide ADA compliance, upgraded finishes, upgraded lighting, upgraded HVAC. Basically, that's what that is. Next page is Category 1, Part 2. The courthouse police access control is the same used for the main courthouse, the Munger building, the historic courthouse, the parking area, the Reagan building, public safety, and also outside the downtown area. It all transitions to the same system and is compatible to that used by the city of Wichita. It provides reciprocal interchange of users between government units. The next item is switchgear. Did we jump ahead once? Yeah, okay. Yeah, the public safety paralleling switchgear modernization. The switchgear is not manufactured anymore or is available. So failure could leave Sedgwick County without 911 call center backup power. That's what that line item is for. Okay, category 2, these are items that are not quite as urgent or well-defined. Should be funded in the short term, hopefully. Next slide. Construct a new garage facility. That is to house ready surge units through the EMS to comply with state regulations, actually. The HCA data center environmental controls, down a couple of lines, are for air handlers, uninterrupted power source, power distribution systems that are outdated and really need to be replaced. The main courthouse and historic courthouse elevator upgrades. We're going to modernize 7 elevators due to end of the useful life expectancy and to refresh the interiors on the elevators. The balance of the items listed in this section, again, are upgrades, repairs, improvements, remodelings of well-used facilities. The Cottonwood shelter item at Sedgwick County Park converts the old bait shop into a rentable shelter with restrooms, kitchen, and meeting room. And the main courthouse perimeter security item, that line item creates barriers in front of the courthouse to prevent vehicles from doing damage. Next page. Category 2, Part 2. The east side salt storage replacement is simply a steel frame fabric structure that's similar to other storage facilities on the north and west sides of the county. Power factor correction increases efficiency, reduces penalties for energy consumption, and reduces the load on existing electrical distribution systems. The playground structure at Lake Afton Park, there is a playground structure that is not ADA compliant, so this provides one that is ADA compliant. They're also adding 42 potable water sources to campsites, which I'm happy to hear about. It goes from 16 to 58 sites now that would have potable water sources. Sedgwick County Park is getting 3 25-year-old wooden docks that are coming apart and getting a lot of complaints from users. They're going to be replaced with new aluminum dock structures that have a 50-year life expectancy. The DA juvenile building file storage, basically that is for expanded case file storage. Intend to put in new light fixtures, new workstations, and shelving. Essentially, that's what that is. The EMS access control card activates walk-in doors that provide connectivity to control access credentials individually or globally. And on to category 3, which is on the horizon, but it has a lower sense of urgency. You can flip on to the next slide. And you can kind of begin to see that it's being pushed back another year down to 2026. And you'll see the same in category 4 when we get there. The replacement of EMS Post 1, that post is currently owned by Via Christi, and the department may be asked to find another location. We're not there yet, but that's a possibility. EMS video surveillance, adding surveillance and monitoring systems for all of the Sedgwick County EMS facilities that will be monitored at the Sedgwick County Courthouse. The rest of those items, extension office updates, rubber base replacements at Sedgwick County Park, main courthouse stairwell door assemblies, again, are interior finish upgrades, replacement of fixtures and materials that have been well used over the years. The gazebos at Sedgwick County Park are non-repairable, and they do need to be replaced entirely. Public Works vehicle storage structures are meant to protect the life of vehicles by protecting them from the elements. And the next slide, we'll have a lovely dog park of 1 acre with disc golf course and fitness course and trail. And the last line item is Judge Riddell Boys Ranch space development that would create usable parkland, add a vault toilet, disc golf course, and fitness course and trail. Okay, those are the primary top 3, and the next slide should be category 4, which is watch list, which are projects that will need additional information or study before including in the plan. And again, it's a little bit further out yet, and you can see right there, historic courthouse exterior stone repair for the limestone foundation blocks and stone, emergency prep warehouse and storage that houses all of the emergency preparedness materials, supplies, reserves of medical protection equipment, and so forth. EMS West Post, since the west side has grown and looks like it might be expanding even more in the near future, we need to study where a west EMS post would be the best. So that's going to be a few years. Fire Station 37 relocation. Bel Air has an existing aged and inadequately sized fire station facility that will need to be replaced. And a new district storage facility to consolidate all the current reserve fleet equipment that's scattered all over the county and sometimes in unprotected climates. And the next slide, I think, are the total of monies by project type, and also the next slide is by funding source. I hope that's been entertaining for you as much as it has been for me. I'm glad to be a part of the county, and any questions?
Just want, Paul, the category 1, you had the roof replacements on a number of county buildings. Does the county self-insure everything or a lot of their stuff? I know in my neighborhood, there's a lot of roofs being replaced when that storm that came through and hit Andover, the tornado. There was a lot of hail damage around that.
Yeah, you know, we haven't received anything on that, Commissioner, but we're looking for that to happen. We haven't received anything yet on county facilities.
But you do have insurance on a number of.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Any other questions?
I got a question. The elevators in the county building, the HCH, I know that I've been told that they go down quite a bit, at least once a week. Is there a reason why that they're not in category 1?
Because they haven't been funded yet, I think.
Okay.
No, I think they're
Instead of
trying
category 2.
I think they're trying to keep them going as quickly and efficiently as they can, but we just haven't got the funding yet for
Okay.
them.
And I think the HCH, don't they have just one elevator in that building? They just
In the
yeah.
historic, yes,
Yes,
just one. That's
just one,
correct.
okay. And it goes down, okay,
Yeah, the speedy one.
thanks.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when it comes to a historic bridge like Manissa, this spring, we had a lot of rain that raised the water table for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, which is real unusual. It settled a lot on the east end and has caused some stones under the sculptures to pop out like an inch. What's category is the historic and possibly urgent. What category would that be in?
You know, I think I'm going to let Lynn address that. It sounds like a public works issue to me, but I'm going to let him take care of that.
And also, when we had all this excessive rain, the woody debris has built up and made these giant wooden dams that are scouring out and changing the whole bottom of the river. It's, you know, there's probably a lot of pressure on those during high water if we leave those piles of debris in place. One's 20 feet deep, 20 feet from the pylon out, and over 10 feet tall.
As an architect, I can understand that concern, but again, I'm going to let Lynn take that.
Okie dokie.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Paul.
I will just note that in particular, the Manissa Bridge is a City of Wichita bridge and therefore not under the jurisdiction of the Sedgwick County. However, I will note in general, both for the City of Wichita and the county, situations like that occur typically, I guess I should say, typically situations like that occur because of storm damage end up being a maintenance item. For example, the debris that is now downstream causing some erosion would be something that either the stormwater or the flood control department would go in on an as-needed basis and get those cleaned up. They monitor those banks quite often. As far as the around the artwork and the statues, and that would be, again, a maintenance issue, but it would be handled by the City of Wichita.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, not. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the second part of this presentation, talk about roads and bridges. I promise we're going to have you out of here before 6 o'clock tonight, so no worries.
That's no doubt.
That's right. Okay, so next slide, please. Just give you a little, some of you have seen this, some of you haven't, but a little background. The county maintains 609 miles of roads, 603 bridges. We have almost 19 and a half miles of multi-use paths and another 5 miles of sidewalk in the unincorporated county. We maintain over 14,500 traffic signs and markers, as well as 32 traffic signals. On average, we have $1.5 million or 1.5 million vehicles per day on the unincorporated roads in the county. And that is the main conversation of this next part of our CIP to cover the roads and bridges. As Mary noted, the 4 categories or purposes that we have is to maintain, to enhance, to expand, and add quality of place. And those are all covered in the comprehensive plan, and we make sure we hit each of those categories. Next slide. Maintaining our roads and bridges makes up the bulk of our projects. These projects are such as our annual preventive maintenance, or we call them our 175 projects. They go out there and they do overlays, scrub seals, new pavement marking, those types of stuff. That's the major part of our CIP, and I believe accounts for like 64% of what we're asking for in this CIP this year. But those are all under what we consider maintenance projects. Next slide. Under enhancement of infrastructure includes widening of bridges, adding center lanes or turn lanes to roads, and making roadside improvements. So we do have several, always in our CIP, we always have several projects that are enhancements to our roads and not just maintaining what is just there. The next category is expansion. It includes, for example, reconstructing a 2-lane road to a 3 or 5-lane highway. Also constructing new roads and bridges where they don't currently exist. And finally, quality of place is hike and bike paths, improvements to our public parks and other public spaces like such as that. The goal, basically we have 2 goals with our CIP for roads and bridges. The first is to touch our roads with maintenance every 6 years or so. To maintain them, and then number 2 is to replace or rehabilitate about 30,000 square feet of our 2.1 million square feet of bridge deck each year. We do that because that ends up being about a representative of a 70-year service life for our bridges. The next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about last year I was here, presented on the current CIP that we're working on right now, or that we're dealing with right now. And these are some changes that are going to occur for next year to that CIP. And first on the list is we need more money. So we have increased construction funding for 3 of our bridges and 1 of our projects, 1 road project, and we've increased funding for our preventive maintenance projects, what I call our R175 projects. Cost of construction just continues to increase. We have too many projects and not enough labor or materials to do them all. That just, on the market rate, just drives everything up. So we've proposed an overall increase of $1.5 to $2 million per year for our preventive maintenance projects through 2027, and that's just to keep our preventive maintenance program afloat at the level it is now. To help offset those increase in costs, we're proposing a reduction in funding to our cold mix replacement program. We are introducing 3 projects separately to replace existing cold mix roads in this year's CIP. We have moved the North Greenwich Bridge replacement project up from 2024 to 2023, and that is to take advantage of state funding from the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program. So that's going to help us free up some local funds for projects since we'll be getting that money from the state. We also added a project to make major repairs to the stormwater pump station number 14. This is a 12-year-old station located on 45th Street North, adjacent to the Little Slough near Ridge Road. It's maintained by the city council, or the city county flood control, the dual flood control department, but it's funded entirely by Sedgwick County. So after 12 years, we have maintenance, repairs, and upgrades that are necessary just to keep that up and running. Next slide is an overview of our maintenance on our road system. We have our right-of-way and utility replacement. Over the next 5 years, we're talking about $1 million to be spent. Preventive maintenance, we have $54 million budgeted, or proposing to budget, I guess I should say. Our drainage projects that are outside of like their already proposed bridges is another $3 million. We have the pump station I referred to just recently was $200,000 in funds. And we also, if you're familiar with the 47th Street South and Oliver intersection, that has a old style cable signal that goes across there, not mast arms and posts, and that is going to be replaced and upgraded through that system. On the next slide, we're going to talk about our bridge system. We are basically proposing 2 rehabilitation projects that will be constructed in 2023 and 2025. It's a total spend of about $2.9 million, but it's a significant savings over replacement. The goal is to get 20 plus years of life out of each of those additional life out of each of those structures. We've programmed 22 bridge replacements in the CIP at a cost of about $22 million over the next 5 years. A new CIP project dedicated to bridge maintenance was introduced last year. This is taking care of our bridges. Bridges have components that last anywhere from 10 to 20 years, all the way up to 50, 60 years. So if we don't take care of those short components, like expansion joints, timely, we just overall shorten the life of the bridge. So we're going to have a project where every other year we're going to go in and make those types of repairs. And we have bumped that up to start in 2024 instead of the original date of 2025. And in our CIP that we're proposing for the next 5 years, we have a total of 25 bridge projects, total of 24 bridge projects that we will be rehabbing or reconstructing. The next slide talks about our road enhancements. I think you guys are all aware, you've probably been out and been part of it. The North Junction gold phases are under construction. 235, K96, 135. We have programmed approximately $2.2 million in 23 and $3.3 million in 24 to cover the county's portion of those improvements. Project R348 is basically a bike path on 130, that's R348 is a half-mile stretch of 135th Street North, north of 53rd. That's going to serve the increased truck traffic for the Maze Industrial Park. That is currently a gravel road, and it has just a 2-lane road on 53rd Street. So the intersection will be added with turn lanes, and the gravel portion of the road will be paved. And that's scheduled to be constructed in 2025. Our last 2 projects on that list in front of you is R353 and R354. They're both on Ridge Road from 53rd on to north up to 85th, and they cover improvements to make needed safety improvements by adding shoulders and softer ditch slopes throughout that area. That gets a lot of traffic out there. Continue on the next slide for road enhancement projects. We have R356 and R357, and that's going to be over at Element ICM over there by Colwich. That's going to construct an extra half mile of paved road on 61st Street North, which is currently gravel, and we're going to repave 151st up to K96, from 53rd up to K96. That traffic right now is becoming heavily truck traffic, getting as much as 300 trucks a day, 250 in, 150 out a day. And some of them are using the gravel road to get access because it's the closest route for them. Local farmers are delivering grain to the Element, and we're needing to make improvements in that area to handle that improved traffic. Another project that will improve safety in our community is the Calfskin Creek Watershed Flood Mitigation Project. Long name, but basically it is a proposed project with the city of Wichita where we've submitted a BRIC application for federal funding for $40 million that will help reduce flooding along the Calfskin Creek in western Sedgwick County and northwest Wichita. We ourselves, Sedgwick County, has allocated $5 million to the project in 2025 for our match of the local required match if we get that application awarded. Overall, we're proposing 5 new road reconstruction projects in this CIP that will replace the cold mix and thin asphalt roads, add shoulders, and improve roadside ditches. On the next slide, we're talking about the expansion of our road system, and I think this has been talked about enough over the years, but the main project under that is the Northwest, what we're now calling the Northwest Expressway, and it is a combination local KDOT, Sedgwick County project that's right now in the phase of acquiring right-of-way. There's a protective overlay, and we're getting funds together to purchase right-of-way. They've purchased almost $30 million in right-of-way to date, and they still have additional right-of-way that is necessary. KDOT has agreed, they agreed this last year, I presented this last year, they agreed to increase their funding up for dollar with Sedgwick County up to $1 million per year to fund that right-of-way funds. So if we put in $1 million, they'll put in $1 million. If we put in $500,000, they'll put in $500,000. And we have right now tentatively in our budget, we have dedicated $1 million per year. So at the end of the CIP, we'll have an additional $10 million of funds. And I should probably also note that the cities of Mays and Goddard have agreed to reimburse the county $5,000 each through 2025 for participation in the local funds. And we do expect that they will renew that agreement in 26 and 27. And lastly, our quality of place. This is what I started to say earlier, R358, not 348, 358, a multi-use pathway project that's going to be along Maple from 183rd, where it connects to Goddard, over to a Wichita subdivision that will also come down 167th to the Eisenhower School Complex, where Goddard Schools has their middle school, elementary school, and high school for Eisenhower. The majority of these funds are for construction come through WAMPO, and we're looking at construction, and that's currently just started design, and we're looking at construction in 2025 for that. So the next slide is our 5-year summary, just kind of what I've quickly, and I realize I did cover that quickly, kind of talking about overall. We're talking about a total county expenditure of $129 million. Overall, the actual number you'll see in the book is $383 million, but that includes the partnership funds that we're getting from KDOT for things like the Northwest Expressway and for the North Junction, and as well as our projects for East Kellogg. So when you look at our project or our projects for local funded portion of it, it's about 129 million, and that's about average for what we run in our CIP for roads and bridges. 64% of the funds support maintenance, 27% enhances the road infrastructure, 8% supports expansion, and just over 1.2% for quality of place. The next slide shows kind of the pie chart of how this is all cut out by dollar amount. So everything I've talked about comes to a total of about $59 million for road maintenance over the next 5 years and $26 million for bridge maintenance. We have additional $36 million for enhancements to the infrastructure, $10 million for expansion of the Northwest Expressway, which is the right-of-way preservation that I talked about, and then $1.7 million for the quality of place, and that's the additional sidewalk and bike path for Maple Street that connects Goddard and Wichita. Our next, wrapping up now, this is the reason why we are in front of you. The first goal of the transportation within the community investments plan is to, and I quote, preserve and maintain a safe, cost-effective, and reliable transportation system that strategically supports the economic growth, vitality, and quality of life aspirations of our community. It's a mouthful. I blame Scott for that one. Next slide. There we go. You're there. We feel that the goal has been met with the proposed CIP that will preserve and enhance the county infrastructure that is already considered to be in good condition. We have $84 million is proposed to be spent on the existing roads and bridges over the next 5 years. And that's, as I noted before, 64% of the total requested funds for roads and bridges. The next goal number 2, is a little easier. It is the community investments plan. Goal number 2 is to improve and increase the movement of goods, people, and information with a better connectivity and mobility options in our community. Again, I didn't write those. I'll go back to Scott again. The goal number 2 we feel has been met because the CIP will invest in the Maple Street bike path and the long-range planning of the Northwest Expressway. The proposed bike path will connect paths in Goddard and Wichita, and the Northwest Expressway would create a new route simplifying connections between eastern and western Sedgwick County. And my last slide, or second to last slide, is, again, why I'm here. I'm requesting that MAPC find that the proposed 23-27 capital improvement program to be in conformance with the community investments plan. Before you guys take action on that requested item, Paul and I will stand for any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Any questions?
Just want to clarify, is there a second presentation coming? Are we approving the entire CIP or just the portions that's been presented today?
Paul gave part 1, I gave
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Bill? Is any of this infrastructure funding that was just passed, is any of the funds coming from that to support this?
Currently, there are none. These are projects that go out for the next 5 years, though, and we are applying for funds as we have projects that meet those criteria.
Any other questions? Okay, bring it back to completion.
We would take recommended action.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. Hartman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes. 11. Mr. Nix had left. Is there anything else?
Sir?
We're done. What a day.
This conference is no longer being recorded.